Hey everyone, Percy here. Okay, another day, another Bitwig video. So I guess everyone by now has heard about what happened last week. So Bitwig released a new product, Spectral Suite. It was made specifically for Bitwig Studio, but they didn't put it in Bitwig Studio right away. No, they tried to sell it to us as an add-on. Now the community was furious. This thing really blew up. Pressure was mounting, and finally yesterday Bitwig came with a statement. Probably most of you will also have heard about that, but let me read you the statement. So we've had time to reflect on last week's Spectral Suite announcement and the responses from our community. We apologize for how we handled this and want to make this right. Now Spectral Suite is now part of Bitwig Studio 4.4, which has an official release date of October 5th, 2022. Anyone with a current upgrade plan now owns Bitwig Studio 4.4 and the 4 Spectral Suite devices. We will contact everyone who purchased Spectral Suite to offer a choice of a refund or an extension of their upgrade plan. And then arguably the most important part, so moving forward, all of our Bitwig Studio feature development, including devices, will be covered by the 12-month upgrade plan. Now, I'm not even I am a Bitwig user, but it's not even my main DAW, or at least not yet. But even I was like really happy when I read that statement. But then when it sunk in a little bit, I started to think, okay, but how do I really feel about this? What does this mean? What happens now? I mean, are we still mad at Bitwig? Do we still not trust Bitwig? Or is everyone going to go back to Bitwig like nothing ever happened? Well, of course, everyone is going to have to decide that for themselves, but let me tell you what I think. Now, some of you may know that I'm kind of on a quest to find my next main DAW. So I've been, looking into some DAWs, I've been testing some DAWs, but Bitwig for a while already has been very high on my list of potentially becoming my next main DAW. Now, when this thing happened last week, I kind of scratched Bitwig off my list entirely. And I'm going to tell you why. So, of course, I understand that we live in a capitalistic world. Unfortunately, some will say. And we get confronted with that all the time. Now, from within that context, can we blame anyone for trying to make some money? I don't think we really can. So, the same is true, of course, for Bitwig. But this is a very good example of, let's call it the dark side of capitalism, because I know some people are in favor of capitalism, so let's call it the dark side of capitalism. Some will say that there is only a dark side to capitalism, but let's not get into that discussion right now. So this was a very good example of that, because, if your main focus is trying to make as much money as possible, the decisions that come from that are very often going to be very different from if your main focus is trying to serve your customers. And this was a very good example of the first, because the way they presented Spectral Suite didn't make any sense whatsoever, other than to try to take as much of our money as they could. And that's why I was very disappointed, and that's why I scratched them off my list. But to be honest, I mean, it's not just Bitwig. You will find the dark side of capitalism at basically almost all the major DAW developers. So let's take Studio One, for example. I've been a Studio One user for over 6 years. Now, PreSonus, so the makers of Studio One, they've had add-ons for Studio One for years. I didn't even realize. I knew it, but somehow it didn't register like that. And also, I mean, let's take a look at Pro Tools. I mean, in whose interest is it, you think, that they turned it into a subscription model? Is it in the interest of the consumer, you think? I don't think so. And you can take a look at all the major DAW developers, and almost everywhere you will find the dark side of capitalism. So a statement like this makes me very happy, because this is a very good statement. And I know that there might be some people still that have some trust issues with Bitwig. And of course, if that is how you feel, and that's how you feel, you have every right to feel like that. But how I feel is, first of all, you have to realize it is still a business relationship. It's not a personal relationship. They make some stuff, we purchase it. And within that context of a business relationship, I think you will not get a better statement than this. you know. And of course, some people may say, yeah, but they were under pressure, they had to do something. Sure, they had to, but they didn't have to do this. I mean, they made no compromises. I mean, there were some talks about compromises, like, okay, if Bitwig does this, then maybe we could accept this, and no compromises. So they're just saying everything we do from now on in terms of Bitwig, all covered by the 12 months upgrade plan. And everyone who has purchased a Spectral Suite will get their money back, or an extension to their upgrade plan. No compromises. So that's a very, very good sign, if you ask me. And also, and I wonder if anyone else also feels like this, but ironically, it really feels like I now trust Bitwig more than almost all the other DAWs out there. I mean, it feels kind of like a actual personal relationship where, you know, you're in a relationship with someone, a relationship of any kind, and at one point one says to the other, okay, you're doing this, but I don't like that, could you not do this? And you know, and you get into a conversation, and it ends up making the relationship stronger. I think all of us have had that experience. It kind of feels exactly like that, you know. So the community has spoken. We've told Bitwig, we're not doing this. And Bitwig actually listened, and they came with this statement. So first of all, the community has proven, and it's not even the biggest community. I mean, if you compare it to Ableton or even Studio One, but it's a very active community. It's a very involved community, maybe even a little bit idealistic. So it's a very strong community, you know, and I'm not sure if everyone really realizes how important a community can be. Well, they've actually proven how important they can be, you know, so that's a huge plus for Bitwig. And another huge plus is that Bitwig actually listened to the community, you know, and they put out this statement, which I really, really like, you know. And then maybe a third, which I'm not sure I can mention separately because it's very much intertwined with the other ones, but, and I don't want to sound too romantic, but having gone through this experience together, we now know more of each other. So we now know what to expect from Bitwig. Bitwig now knows more about the community, probably. Bitwig is probably never gonna pull a stunt like this again. So again, ironically, it feels like in terms of trust, I would feel maybe more comfortable with Bitwig than any of the other major DAWs out there. So what does this mean for me personally? Well, I think I can say that Bitwig is not just back on my list, it might even be on top. Anyway, that's how I feel about this development. Let me know what you feel about it. All right? Talk to you soon.